Here are three stories about three possible disciples, the inspiration for which comes from Luke chapter 9, verses 57 to 62. The Fox and Bird Man. I've been following Jesus for a couple of days now, and I've seen some crazy stuff. People have been healed, demons cast out, and I've heard of thousands fed from practically nothing. And he speaks all the time about the kingdom of God coming now. Everyone is wondering if he is the Messiah. However, it's not been very comfortable. We never know where we will be sleeping. We slept in a field last night because there was no room left in the inn. Back home I have a nice little house and a very comfy bed. But if this guy really is the Messiah, then a little discomfort will be worth it, because when he defeats the Romans and takes his place as ruler, then there are going to be some favours for those who are following him. And some of those favours are bound to be some very nice little mansions to live in. And that sounds really comfortable. I told him today that I would follow him wherever he went. I thought he would be pleased. He smiled and said something about foxes' holes and birds' nests, and although he was smiling, I felt quite uncomfortable. I think I will have to go home for a few days and think about it. At least I'll get a good night's sleep in my own bed. The Preacher Man. I've got it. I've really got it. I understand what this kingdom is that Jesus is always talking about. A people loving God and full of humility and forgiveness and kindness. And I just want to tell others about it. Jesus could see that I understood what he was trying to say to people, and he knew that I was able to communicate it well. In fact, he asked me to follow him. Wow, that was probably the greatest moment of my life. But then I thought, what on earth would my father say about this? In fact, what would he say if he knew that I was following some travelling rabbi and sleeping in a field at night? Jesus says some good stuff and does some amazing things, but I'm not sure that my father would agree with everything that he says and does. I've never done anything in my life without asking him first, and I just know what he would say if one of his sons started wandering around villages, preaching and sleeping in barns, even if he was good at it. So, how can I get to preach and not upset my father? I thought long and hard about this, and, well, my father is quite elderly, so if I just wait until he dies, then I can follow Jesus, and I won't upset my father. When I mentioned this elegant solution to Jesus, he said something about the dead burying the dead, which I didn't understand, and neither did my father when later on I asked him about it. The Ploughman. I have been with Jesus for a few days now, and I have seen things I could never imagine happening. Also, I don't mind sleeping in a field, because fields are my business. I plough them, and sometimes, when there is a lot to plough, you get to sleep in them too. In fact, I don't just plough them, I plough them beautifully. Acres of straight lines, or perhaps a flowing curve around some obstacle like a tree or a boulder. In fact, I have won the Regional Farmers Ploughing Contest 5 years in a row, and this year I am competing in the national event. That's if the Romans don't prevent it, like they have the last couple of years. I have been ploughing since before I could walk. In fact, my mum says the first steps I took were following behind a plough, holding on so tight that I didn't fall into the mud. In fact, all our family are ploughmen, and our fathers and their fathers before them, and right back to Cain, or so we've always been told. It is a good trade. One of my heroes is Elisha, because he was a ploughman before he was a prophet. But I never could understand why he sacrificed 2 excellent ploughing oxen and burnt a perfectly good plough before he went to serve Elijah. Always seemed a terrible waste to me. And his family must have been really upset seeing their best team of oxen turned into barbecued steak over the burning wood of their best plough as their son walks off into the sunset pursuing a prophet. I know that Elisha did become one of our greatest prophets, but I'm not sure I could ever do that to my family, and certainly not without saying goodbye properly first. Anyway, at the moment I am walking with Jesus because it is not the ploughing season. I said to Jesus that I would follow him, and he looked at me in that wonderfully, lovingly, terrifying way that he does, and he said that you can't plough forward whilst looking backwards, which I actually found quite insulting. Was he a carpenter trying to teach a ploughman how to plough a straight furrow? In fact, I tried it once, looking backwards, that is, when there was a certain young lady watching me, and I was trying to show off. I produced some very wobbly furrows and had to go over the ground again when she'd gone. In a few weeks, the ploughing season will start again, and before then I need to sharpen the plough blade, check the wooden plough frame is in good condition, exercise the oxen, and walk over some of the fields, checking for large stones that may break an unwary blade. And then to plough those furrows. Ah, there is so much to look forward to.